So we're in our bodies 24 hours a day, aren't we? And it even just sounds odd, it even sounds a little bit peculiar to say that. So how can we make something that's so familiar to us, so ordinary, so familiar to us, extraordinary? So really good evening to you. My name is Maitrinara, and I'm an ordained member of the True Buddhist community. And I'm a teacher with Brixton Buddhist community. And until not so long ago, I would have been running a class like this in a space that we have in Brixton. I may have even been welcoming a lot of you into the class. Yeah, so I can kind of see on the chat who's around. So it'd be really nice to hear from you, and I can give you a little shout out. It'd be nice to be able to give you a shout out after we've done a short body scan. So yeah, so we'll be doing the short body scan together. Just kind of chance to settle in, settle ourselves down, catch up with ourselves after whatever's been going on today. And then I'm going to be giving a talk on the extraordinary body. And then we'll be doing quite a novel kind of way into breath in the body. So we're taking a novel approach today. Okay, so let's settle ourselves in. You don't need to do anything special. You could be on a chair or on the sofa, or if you want to get yourself onto cushions, that's fine. So let's just get ourselves settled in. So yeah, now we're just here, just catching up with ourselves, just getting ourselves present to what's happening right now. So wherever you are, in your room, in your bedroom, in your lounge, you're just kind of tuning into your actual experience. So there's sound around you, hear the sound of my voice, but also the noises around you, maybe outside or inside. And you can feel the space around you holding all that, whatever noise is there. So just letting that all be there, feeling the space around you. And then come into contact with yourself, your body, sensations of your body. And getting a sense of your weight on the floor or on the chair. You can feel the contact. You can feel the sensations of contact. And just allowing your body weight to sink down into the contact. So the lower body is just starting to soften, let go into the area of contact. You might want to notice your tummy. Just notice if you're holding on to any tension in the tummy. Maybe taking a few deeper breaths into the tummy just to see if we can start to soften and to relax in the tummy. And then just feeling your upper body rising up energetically. Noticing your upper back and shoulders. And just feeling your way into your shoulders, seeing if you can start to find a little bit more ease in the shoulders. Relaxing again the neck, up into the head. And just noticing your eyes, forehead. Seeing if you can allow your eyes to go into slightly softer focus. Maybe you've been on the screen a lot today and just create a little tension around the eyes. So seeing if we can just start to let that go. Letting the face soften. And then feeling the breath moving in the body. And getting a sense of your whole body here. Breathing. Letting go now of any effort at all. So yeah, if you want to, just let me know that you're out there. It'd be good to hear from you. Um, and I'm just going to give you a little intro of the talk before I say hello to anyone who's tuning in. We're going to be talking about the Buddha's four spheres of mindfulness. So the Buddha said that he or had a sense that he encapsulated all spheres of all aspects of our experience through these four spheres of mindfulness. So we'll be unraveling that over the course of the next 4 to 6 weeks. So yeah, he's started with the body. Quite interestingly, started with the body, and well, just to say also, we'll be taking questions. So do also, as the talk goes on, if anything, any comments or questions occur to you, do write them in as well. Do write them into the chat box and let me know anything you would like to hear more about, and we'll get to that at the end of the stream. Okay, so this extraordinary body. It doesn't always feel like there's a. Often we're kind of alienated from the body, and in a certain way, when we're alienated from the body, we're alienated from our direct experience, because there's nothing we can experience more directly than the body and its movement. And that might be through, well, it could be all sorts of reasons, but there's some reasons that kind of stand out. Sometimes we could be holding negative views about the body. So sometimes there might be kind of religious, some sort of kind of shame due to religious conditioning, or there's issues, sex issues that we've come across in relationship to the body, or you know, not unrelated to that, kind of body shape, what we think about our body. Even pain in the body can kind of start us to want us to push it away. And So there's all this kind of conditioning that could be affecting how we experience our body. The other thing, of course, is that we're spending increasing amount of screen time, and particularly in these recent times. People, it's a new expression, isn't it, that entered into the dictionary, kind of zoomed out. I don't know if it's gone into the dictionary yet, but I've been hearing people say that, zoomed out. So there's all this screen time, and that does tend to kind of pull us out of our direct experience, kind of narrow our attention somehow. It's a little bit paradoxical, isn't it, that we're teaching meditation online. But we want to reach out, so this is the way we're going to be doing it. So the screen time can affect us. This conditioning can affect us, but also like we can get caught up in oppressive and persistent thought about all manner of things. And people, you've got that expression, isn't it? Kind of very heady, or I'm very caught up in my head, and that's what it kind of feels like, doesn't it? It kind of feels like we're caught up in our head and kind of losing touch with the body. So, from Buddhist point of view, the body is not separate from the mind or the self. So, so it's not a thing, although we often kind of turn it into a thing. As soon as you turn it into a thing, it's a bit of a problem, because you've got a thing, and then you've got the kind of our, who we are. So it's kind of this spirit or this ghost in the machine. So you get into this kind of strange territory if you start separating it up. So in fact, the body is the only thing we can know from the inside. Strangely, it's the only thing we can directly experience from the inside. We can know other people, we can get to know them, but we can't know what that's like. We can't know what that's like. We have our own embodied experience. We can't know. We can only intuit what it's like for someone else's embodied experience. We can't know that directly. And as we start to get into exploring the body, exploring the kind of sensations of the body, getting to, in a way, kind of intimate with what it's like to be embodied a human being, we start to recognise a kind of mysterious element starting to unfold. There's this kind of inner experience is quite mysterious. I mean, I've had various examples of this in the time I've been meditating. Sometimes I could be meditating and I really don't know kind of where my body starts and ends. It's quite strange. I can't quite feel where I start and end. Sometimes I feel very expanded. Well, is that my body? What's going on there? And if I feel so expanded, is that my body? So it can start to become quite mysterious. As one goes into more depth into the subtleties of sensation, what can open up is a kind of is a kind of letting go of the wordiness of our experience, a letting go of how we're constantly kind of categorizing. It can start to take a more peripheral part in our experience and what starts to emerge is a more kind of wordless, a more a direct experience, not mediated through words and language. So that's interesting. Maybe even symbols. It starts to get closer to symbols, symbols that kind of represent. So we start to maybe even have more of a sense of energy or light or emergent kind of worlds almost within us. So it can get quite mysterious. So once one starts to allow oneself to drop down out of a normal everyday mind. So sensations have depth. They have depth in the body, and like I say, you can start quite well most of the time, myself included. I'm on this rather superficial level. I kind of walk down the street. I kind of know that I've got a body, but I'm not very attuned to it unless I make a certain type of effort. So how do we move from this rather gross sensation a kind of almost this sensation as if kind of viewed from the outside, to this much more subtle sensation, as if to say kind of viewed from the inside or close up, or even at one with that sensation. That starts to get harder to explain in words, as you noticed earlier. Words start to kind of fail somehow at that level, and kind of ideas of like energy start to become more a more realistic kind of way of kind of thinking about it. Start experiencing ourselves as energy. So that might all sound quite mysterious. So how do we go about kind of dropping into that? Well, one way is really thinking about our posture. So the posture is this position of the body, and as we go through the meditation, we're going to, especially if we're unaccustomed to meditation, we might start to want to move. Yeah, so we might start to want to move or get uncomfortable. So you can start to get to know your posture in a way more fully by the longer you meditate, and you can start to make these more subtle adjustments in your posture. So start a little letting go here, a little noticing the tension there, a little letting go here, a little softening here. And in this way, the posture starts to become a lot more subtle. If you go to, I did a kids class at school not so long ago, and when I asked them what did they think meditation was, they all did this, like kind of sat bolt upright and put their hands out like this, and this kind of rigid, kind of quite kind of willed kind of posture. So we're trying to soften that up. We're trying to get a feel from the inside, so to speak, of the posture, so we can create this kind of mountain like posture. Sometimes it's talked about sitting like a mountain, where you very grounded, very in contact with the sensations of contact with the ground, but also this sense of kind of rising up energetically from that foundation. So you can start to use image in how you think about posture. But yeah, these kind of subtle corrections, kind of subtle straightening up or subtle letting go, starts to get us more attuned to our posture, position of our body. And then there's allowing ourselves a sensitivity. We rather get caught up, I say we, and definitely mean that, we get caught up in the drama of our mind, the drama of all our thoughts and emotion. And to drop down into this sensitivity is rather mysterious how one goes about that. But it is like there is some sort of patient, persistent effort required. It doesn't just happen. So the sensitivity requires us to kind of pick through our body, or kind of comb through our body, and find where we're holding tension, and start to soften that, start to loosen that. And stress and tension is a really good kind of indicator of when we're trying too hard, when we're holding ourselves too hard, when we're forcing something. And we can feel that in the body. And by the same token, when we're starting to kind of blob out, or just kind of like get all kind of Netflixy, I don't know if that's even an expression, but get all kind of just lazy in a certain way in our mind, we also lose touch with our body in a different type of way. It's funny, when we come to from that, just kind of notice, I'm calling it kind of coming to, it's almost like a kind of awakening, this strange faculty of awareness which suddenly kicks in, and you can just notice that even lying on a sofa watching something, you're quite tense. You could be, you know, I'm just lying down relaxing. Actually, you can be kind of holding quite a bit of tension there. So there's this kind of element of kind of coming to, isn't there? Of kind of almost kind of just snapping to and kind of noticing how you're holding yourself. So yeah, noticing tension is really the first step to letting go of tension. And letting go of tension is an important part of meditation, because it starts to, as we start to loosen in the body, the mind starts to allow more expansion in the mind. So we need to start bringing awareness to what's going on, and awareness is, or mindfulness or awareness is always awareness or mindfulness of something. It's not this kind of abstract quality that exists outside of our direct experience of something, yeah, whether that just be a thought or feeling or you know, one of something coming in through one of the senses. So yeah, deepening awareness is deepening this awareness of sensation. Yeah, that's a strong aspect of deepening awareness, is deepening sensation. And whatever we do, whatever we say, even whatever we think has an effect in the body. If one's, you know, tuned in enough, you can even notice that a chain of thought, you're reacting to a chain of thought in your body. So it's quite kind of interesting, isn't it? And yeah, we kind of tense up, or we relax as a result. Maybe it's quite a heart-opening thought we're having, maybe about a friend, someone who's helped us recently, or somewhere in connection with, or just a, you know, just a small interaction during the day. We replay that, and there can be an attendant kind of relaxation or expansion in the body, can't there? So, so that's not surprising from Buddhist point of view. That's not surprising at all. We've got these habitual ways of holding our bodies, and in a way, that's like how we kind of hold onto ourselves. In a way, it's how we hold on to this kind of idea of who we are. Yeah. So what I'm getting at with that is this, like, there's a lot talked about self, isn't there, in Buddhism, but I tend to find it more helpful to think of it as identification, what we're kind of identifying with, yeah? And we can be identifying with all sorts of things, can't we? I'm like this, I'm not like that. Quite interestingly, if I think I'm like this and not like that, and then I act like that, it's quite embarrassing, isn't it? It's like, no, but I'm like this, you know. So we identifying all the time and kind of holding an idea of who we are all the time. And also, we're also holding on to preferences all the time, aren't we? Like, I want this and I don't want that. And that also has a effect in the body. You know, if you really don't want something, you notice what your body's like, it's really like, I don't want it. You know, or if I want something, you kind of almost leaning into it. So you see that's all reflected there and mirrored in the body. So a bit strong part of Buddhist meditation and Buddhist practice generally is about kind of loosening or relaxing this idea, this fixed idea of ourselves as this fixed and separate kind of entity. Fixed as in like I'm always like this, unchanging, and separate as in like I'm here I am kind of in the outline of my body, so to speak, as separate from everything else. You start to investigate through meditation, start to see through that, start to see the limitations of that idea. And one of the things that we also start to get, we start to also kind of tune into, don't we, in meditation, is we start to notice stories. We start to notice these stories or these ideas that are playing out about what's going on. We notice habits of how we are, habits of our thought, of our speech, and we've been covering in the study group that I co-lead. We've been studying speech in the last week. It was amazing, the complexities of speech, truthful speech. God, so difficult to really talk truthfully and not kind of slightly divert things in your direction, if you see what I mean. And that has an effect. So that will have an effect in the body. So we're holding ideas of ourselves, and we're almost holding that in the body as an aspect of that. So, so staying with sensations of the body is a quite kind of, in a way, is quite a revolutionary practice of awareness, and staying with the sensations, and also noticing when we're kind of almost kind of bounced out of that through you know, intrusive thoughts or things that just kind of taken us away. So kind of what I was referring to earlier is kind of coming to, yeah. So noticing that we've kind of been bounced out, and that we come to, and then we, with some kind of persistence, some sort of effort, direct ourselves back into trying to come into relationship again with sensations. So it's important not to rush through that process. So it's important not to, when one does get bounced out or kind of come to not go back to the breath or back to whatever I'm supposed to be doing in meditation. It's really interesting to notice the effect of what's going off has had on your body. So before you kind of lurch back to the breath or something, just kind of taking a moment to really take stock again. And that sounds rather like a large project, but it's not, is it? You can just take stock quite kind of quickly and then move back into relationship with what you're doing in the meditation. So what I'm pointing to is a kind of patient persistence and a kind of acceptance that yes, of course, we're always going to be getting pulled away from our relationship with the body and well, and the meditation practice that we're doing, and of course that we just apply an effort to just come back into it. So there's a kind of acceptance that's part of it. Okay, so what I've been saying is that basically we can, through deepening the quality of our sensation, the quality of our awareness of sensation, we can start to see the extraordinary body. And we can start to kind of really come into a kind of more direct experience of ourselves, of who we are and what we are through this process. So I'm going to guide this in a moment in a kind of just a quite a novel way into the mindfulness of breathing, which is very much a body practice, isn't it? And try not to think, or at least get curious. If you start to think, oh gosh, the mindfulness of breathing, I know that. I know what that is. I know how to do that. I know the stages. I know what to do. And see if we can stay kind of open to this idea of the extraordinary body. Yeah, so let's get ourselves set up for that. So you might want to take a moment just to get yourselves comfy on a chair, on the sofa, or on the cushions on the floor if you want. So firstly, there's been a lot of words there, haven't there? So let's just tune into a much broader sense of our experience now with our eyes closed. So with our eyes closed, there's less visual input, and you can start to get a sense maybe of the soundscape all around you, and that also has depth to it. So you might notice sounds emerging and submerging. And that's almost taking place in space, isn't it? We can feel the space all around us. That's almost infinite. We can feel that as infinite. Space all around us, reaching far beyond our bedroom or lounge, wherever we are. So just allowing this sense of spaciousness and the sounds unfolding within that. And then getting a sense of our body. We can't find the outline of our body. So just noticing the sensations that we can feel. And this, for the sake of the meditation, is our body. It's what we can contact. So getting a sense of contact between our body and ground. We're getting a sense of how the lower body can just relax, start to soften, become grounded. And getting a sense of body from the tummy, moving upward from there. This mass of sensations. There of the shoulders, there of the head, there of the chest. And get a sense of the way the breathing affects this mass of sensations. And then staying in touch with this energetic body, this breathing body, just expanding back out again. Getting a sense of the vastness of space around us, in which our body sensations are contained in a way, changing, shifting. And then imagine, if you will, that this space is slightly tinted with rainbow light, subtle rainbow light. It just tints the space around us. Or if you want, you can give it a slight fragrance, like jasmine. As you pass on the street, the jasmine, the air just takes on a slight sweet fragrance. And just seeing how this vast space, this tinted rainbow light or jasmine scented space, interacts with this breathing body of ours. See if you can find the limits of where your body starts, or where the space around you begins. In a way, taking the energy or the sensations of the body a little bit less personally, just starting to notice them maybe as energy. So just noticing areas of the body that feel a bit more dense. And maybe some areas feel a bit lighter. And just zooming into areas of the body that whether they feel dense or light. And a kind of sense of the granular texture or sensation present there. And maybe noticing areas of your body that feel a little tighter. What does that feel like to breathe into that? And then maybe noticing areas that feel a little bit more expansive, a bit more open. And breathing into that. You can stay with this interaction between inside and outside. Interested in the granular, grainy aspect of the sensations you're feeling. And then bring the element of the breath in so that it creates a kind of continuity to your awareness. The central theme to your awareness. Around which everything else can just be. Noticing where the body moves in relation to the breath. Staying with the changing, shifting sensations, the rise and the fall. And now we're going to make the awareness a little bit finer, a little bit more subtle by just noticing where the breath enters and exits the body. And you might need to be quite patient to notice more subtle sensations. Trying to notice where the breath enters and exits. Just not trying too hard, not holding on, not forcing. And then slowly broadening out to take in more and more of your body. Feeling yourself grounded, and then just letting go of any effort at all that you're making. And sitting with however you are just now. Really then just really bringing yourself back into your room, bedroom, lounge, wherever you are, noticing, even with your eyes closed, everything that's around you. That we're meditating with other people. Okay, um, so what I'm hoping is you're going to be, you may be curious, you may want to put some questions in, just as if we was in old-fashioned physical class. We'd normally take some comments or questions, wouldn't we, about how how it went. That's really useful, or anything you would like to clarify. So that'd be happy to um, answer anything about your meditation experience and practice. While you're thinking about that, maybe writing in comments or questions, I'm just going to mention a couple of things. So the well, as part of Brixton Buddhist community, what we're trying to do is we're trying to adapt, really, like everybody else. We're trying to adapt to what's going on and try to respond. So we're doing as much as we possibly can to do that. So we've got all these live streams going, but there's also lots of things like study groups with Brixton has 5 study groups. There's other interactive stuff going on online as well, and we're constantly trying to bring in new teachers who to teach up on the live stream and create the tech capacity to do that, and to reach more people. And really are doing that. Our videos and so on had over 5,000 views, since we've been in this lockdown situation. So we've been reaching a lot of people, and I really feel like we've been getting a lot of feedback about how helpful it's been. And it's really nice to hear, really gratifying to hear, and it has been affecting people through this transition. So that's really good. I'm really pleased about that. But we don't have any physical income. So we don't have any physical income. The old-fashioned dana bowl that used to be there and card reader at the old meditation space where we used to, they're in the cupboard now. So we don't nothing's going into those. And that was part of the culture in a certain way. This dana bowl, meaning generosity, that's part of the culture. It's part of a culture of kind of giving. So people put in what they want to give. So it's not transactional. It's just you're giving what you if you moved, you're giving something towards helping the community to evolve, really, and being part of that evolution. So Yeah, so the Dana Bowl really is a part of the co-creation of community, and we don't have any physical Dana. We worked out that we need £2,000 a month in order to really cover all the expenses that we have, and also to expand into areas that we think are really vital to expand into as well. Um, which basically means, yeah, kind of we're at our capacity with what we can do. So we've worked out that if 40 people give £50 a month, standing orders are the easiest things for us, because then we can kind of plan and we can employ somebody part-time to help take up some of the slack and help us move into the areas that we'd like to be giving more attention to. So yeah, standing orders are the best, but basically anything you move to give be really appreciated, and all the links are in the description below here. Yeah, for the month of April, I can't remember where the denominator comes up. Is it come up over there? I did that last time and it didn't come up, and I looked back and I felt foolish. But there's our dynamometer. I think it's up. And basically, what you've got here is basically what we've been, what we've raised through your generosity. So it's really, really appreciated. So that's where we've got to for April, and we're trying to reach that 2,000 mark. So anything you want to give, do just follow the links in the description below. It'd be much appreciated. Okay. Also on the tech aspect, I think that I can't see the questions here or anybody giving any shout outs, so I'm going to have to rely on Adam to let me know what's going on with that. So has there been any shout outs, Adam?
Yes, there has. Yeah, I think it's not, you've got a top chat rather than live chat, must be. So there've been quite a few shout outs, and we've got one question currently from James waiting.
Okay. So who've we got online? Just so let me know. It'd be nice to
we've
know
got by Maitri, Anna, Emma, Ricardo, that's Rich, Bajatara, Birinaga, yeah, James.
Great.
And Jack.
Great, good. Oh, lovely to know. My screen was blank there, so I just thought I might have thought I might be sitting here on my own. So there you go. That's technology. So let's go to that question then, Adam. What was that?
So the question's from James. He said, "I've had coronavirus and recovery has taken a long time. I found I've become almost hyper aware of my body and symptoms." Etc., that often come with an almost instantaneous judgment, making it quite difficult to observe the sensation directly. I find I can do this in meditation, but not in the moment before my mind goes off on one. Any advice from your wisdom Buddhist principles?
Thanks, James. Thanks for the question. Yes, it's really not easy. We've had people here. I live in a Buddhist community with 5 other guys, and we've all had various degrees of the illness, and a couple of the guys are still not out of the woods with that. So it just seems to be quite variable, doesn't it? And I know that it can, from that experience, I know it can really linger on. And I think that's part of that is comes attendant with it real anxiety, doesn't it? Like we have a certain expectation that the illness is going to last this long, and then I'll be back, or it's going to last this long. So when things start to not quite measure up to our expectations, it starts to build anxiety. So it may be that that's partly what you're experiencing in relationship to the sensations of the body, because when you notice still kind of a lethargy there, or even maybe it's the tightness of breath, you starting to equate that with oh, this isn't how it should be. This isn't how it should be. So I think this is a big part of what the 111 service is doing, is trying to just basically let people know what they should be expecting. And I think that's really, really helpful, because once you know what to expect, you can kind of just in a certain way kind of relax into it. Unpleasant as it might be, you can still kind of allow that then to be there. So I think it's often the anxiety about bodily sensations which bounces us quite quickly up into judgments and ideas, and trains of thought about all of that. So, so what's the solution? Well, I think, yeah, I suppose kind of just one's expectations. That's quite kind of, I think that is quite important. I thought it was quite interesting when Ahmed Vajra rang up 111. The nurse told him to rest, drink a lot of water, and watch a lot of Netflix. So it was even official prescription. It's quite interesting, wasn't it? So there's not often a lot of energy for a lot else. But I think you can do these short body scans. They're quite good. The short body scans where you just sit in the sun, or sit with a cup of tea, just for the length of time it takes you to drink the tea, and just kind of stay in touch with the body. Just allow that to deepen. Notice that your mind rushes off, and then just allow that to deepen. So you can kind of set small times aside to do that, rather than a whole kind of meditation. You can just do that in short little periods. So there's a couple ideas, just kind of adjusting expectations, and then also just bringing in a kind of an acceptance of, like, well, unpleasantness in a way of this situation, and then also just building in these more smaller, more manageable kind of body scans or body awareness into the day, so that kind of builds up a little momentum of you settling around the body on a more regular basis. Yeah, so I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, we've got one
yeah.
one more question.
Yeah.
Yeah, from Richard.
Yeah.
He asks, what about people with PTSD/trauma? It can be very uncomfortable for them to inhabit their bodies because they are often in a state of high alert, easily triggered into fight-flight response. What should they do to get in touch with their bodies?
Yeah, great. Hi, Richard. Thanks for the question. Well, I'm not kind of expert in trauma, and I'm sure there's people that are better placed to answer that than me. But I'll have a go. I think, well, one of the things, it maybe not in a certain way, not dissimilar from what I've been saying, is that it's very easy to trigger an anxiety response. I know that in panic attacks, for example, part of the escalation of symptoms in a panic attack is kind of a panic about the panic, if you see what I mean. So you start to notice elevated breathing and so on, and tightening, and maybe you start to kind of panic that, oh, here it comes, you know, and then that kind of ramps it up as well. So the nervous system is interesting, isn't it? Because the nervous system does seem to get sensitized to sensations like that, and become almost get a kind of slightly lower threshold before a kind of there's this big kind of a response. So with the nervous system, I mean, there's this traditionally there's ways of settling, trying to settle, and that, you know, settle the nervous system, soothe the nervous system down, so that it's not so agitated. And I think all the classic kind of meditation practices are in a way geared towards that. So that's one aspect. The other aspect, of course, is to find the release through communication. So airing problems, airing issues, airing things that we've built strong stories around, tightened around, maybe even had, you know, these genuinely traumatic responses around. That needs to be aired, doesn't it? It needs to be aired, because otherwise it gathers its own kind of momentum. So so that's where the kind of talking therapies come in, I suppose, where you are giving that airing and finding a trusting situation where you can start to explore that. So you can come at it from both ends in a way, I think. You know, you come at it from the more communicative aspect, and then the more direct experiential aspect. And I think both of them have a strong part to play in any of these kind of situations. So anyway, I hope that's helped a little bit. So what we're going to do with these Monday nights we've already started this, but what we're going to really develop is the Zoom call that's going to be happening afterwards. So in the Zoom call, it's going to be run by people from within the community. Yeah, so a very welcoming, inclusive atmosphere on the Zoom call, and people can really air, like they would do in a physical centre. You can air your questions, you know, and kind of knock them around and get comments and responses, and start to build up themes and develop a kind of sensitivity towards what's happening in your meditation. It's really good to do that. But I realised with the Zoom calls that they're a bit like walking into a Buddhist centre. If you've not been part of our community for a long while, they can be a bit almost a bit kind of scary or something to move into. But it's really, really good. It's a really good thing to do. It's very gentle, I assure you, and you can just come along and see whether you like. You don't even need to say anything if you don't want to. So if you are new and you want to just engage in that way, do come along onto the Zoom call and the links are for that are in the description and also in the chat box. So yeah, I would welcome you to do that. Also, if you like what we're doing here, do subscribe to our channel and hit the alert button as well. And we'll be putting on, like I say, this Monday night, exploring the 4 spheres of mindfulness, and actually doing that over 6 weeks. So we're going to spread that out over the next 6 weeks. So do join me for the next Monday night meditation. Okay, all the best till then.